Hi, and welcome to the Board Game Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Nick Angiers. Today, I'm talking about corporate events. Now, these are events that have to do with games, of course, for companies. I've kind of narrowed it down to tech companies because I think a lot of them have first of all, the budget for hosting events like this, and also the interest. So, a while back, this is in November of 2019. So I had been doing a meetup with a friend who is in the tech space. So the meetup is called React Vancouver. Now React is not quite a programming language. It's actually a JavaScript library, but people code in it, and it can help you code both for web and mobile, if that makes any sense. And it's really big right now. Facebook developed it and then they open sourced it so anybody can use it. And a lot of companies are switching to React and they need React developers. So there's a big community in Vancouver and there's always lots of new stuff to learn. So it's a monthly meetup and a good friend of mine has been hosting it for a few years now. And since I had a game events company, I was like, hey, Eric, why don't I do a game segment for your meetup? So he's like, okay, it sounds like fun. So we tried it, and I did kind of like a little trivia segment where it was based on, like wits and wagers, that kind of thing, just to make the event more fun. Just to throw in like a little bit of variety to it, because they had speakers, so 3 speakers each time. Quite organized, actually, and they had catering and all that. And the main feedback was the people liked it, so it was fun, but it wasn't really targeted to much of anything. It was kind of just like random fun stuff. So after about half a dozen times, so this is 6 months later, we developed a system and kind of narrowed it down to this one where it was going to be based on the talks, and I'd have 2 questions for each talk, and I'd do them in the form of slides. And the way the slides work is instead of just throwing the question out there and then 20 people raise their hand, I have no idea who was first. So I would spread the question out onto 5 slides. So the first slide might just be like 2 words and a bunch of blank spaces. And then if anybody can identify the question by one of the earlier slides, then they can give the answer before anyone else has recognized the question. And that seemed to work quite well because then we'd only have 2 or 3 people raising their hand, and often they wouldn't be able to identify the question. So if they could, then they'd have first shot at the answer. And we'd have prizes, so sometimes we'd have just like gift certificates from sponsors. Eventually Eric was paying out of pocket and giving away some promo items for his own startup, Foodly, which is a food ordering app that he made. And later on, we actually got some pretty cool prizes. So you could get like a promo code for Udemy courses, that kind of thing, where the cost per unit is actually 0, but the person who's making the videos, they get their name out in front of 100 people. We were getting like 100 people each time. And doing this was a pretty big time commitment. It was, once a month, and it was fun, so I enjoyed doing it. And my ultimate goal with this was to get myself out in front of a lot of tech companies and hopefully land some events that I could do for them. And eventually I did get one. It was for like a coding boot camp company. And the original meeting went really well. It was for like the opposite of a launch party, so I guess you'd call it like a farewell party to one of the programs. And we were going to do wits and wagers. So I would make custom questions based on their program that they were retiring, and I'd host it, and then I'd bring 30 other games that people could just play. And we were ready to go. This was in like November, so pretty close to the event. They were like, we actually can't pay you because we don't have any budget left for the rest of the year. And I was like, you know what, I'll do it for free because this is my first one. and I believe in doing cool things for cool people. So I did it, and it was a lot of fun, and people realized the potential in this kind of event that their staff, doesn't have the time or the know-how to put together this kind of event, let alone the energy to host it. But I love doing this kind of thing, so my product was a good fit for them. So I did that, and then that was the very first one that I did. A few months later, the same company reached out to me, and they were like, okay, we can pay you to do another event. They were thinking Wits and Wagers. By the way, my asking price was $300, which I think is fair for 2 to 4 hour event, and then quite a bit of preparation in advance, because everything is customized. That's the whole point, really, is to make it special for them. And I was like, I could do that, but let's do a couple other games. So I did Codenames Pictures with like super large squares, right? So normally it's just a few inches. I did 8x8 inch cards, more like tiles actually. And then I had all kinds of logos of tech companies that they would recognize. And I had one of like Steve Jobs and stuff like that, and also their president. So that was really cool. And I think it gave a more personalized experience. And then I had a bunch of other giant games. We played just one with 10 people. And instead of using the original deck, I had a list of clues that I made that were kind of relevant to the tech industry. So I tried to make it as customized as possible and as relevant to them. And I had 2 volunteers. All 3 of us were in matching t-shirts. So I think we put together a pretty professional show. And that one was a lot of fun. There was only like a dozen people at that one because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. The previous one with Wits and Wagers, they had a good, 20, 30 people with catering and all that. And I prepared 12 questions, which was a little long. It's supposed to be 9. But anyway, everybody had a lot of fun at both events. And okay, now back to why I chose to do this style of event. I think there's a ton of potential in doing these corporate events, especially team building, because companies love that kind of thing. Everybody works at a computer and they kind of do their own thing, and they have to work as a team, but they don't get a lot of chances to do something as a team that's fun. It's all just work, 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 and they're always under pressure and that kind of thing. So I want to put together games that I can pitch to companies and always be coming up with new ones, right? So the same company can hire me back several times, even within a year. And these companies have budgets for this kind of thing, and I can make it relevant to them. One project I'm putting together now, it's still in testing, but it's a game show called Challenging AI. And how it works is there's 3 segments. They're all based on interactions with artificial intelligence. So the first round is it's called Inspirobot. So there's this artificial intelligence that writes inspirational quotes, and it's hilarious because artificial intelligence is at the point where it can do some amazing things, but when it misses, it's just really awkward and funny. So I think we can have a lot of fun with AI. So with the Inspirobot segment, the players are, so this is a team game. So you split all your staff into 2 teams, and you can do as many staff as you want, or as few as you want. And then they get a demo of Inspirobot. And so I play some examples of what the Inspirobot does. And it even has like a text-to-voice capability. So I don't have to read it out loud. It does it itself in like a kind of almost human voice. And then once the teams get an idea of how it works, so they go to work writing a whole bunch of fake inspirational quotes in what they think is the style of the Inspirobot. So it's like humans mimicking AI, which is trying to mimic humans. And the rules are quite simple. It's just like balderdash, where you have to get the other team to pick your quote. by making them think that it's the real one, and then you get to guess which one you think was actually written by the bot. So you get points for that, and then everyone on each team also has a like token, so they can put that on any quote, and then they'll get a point for that. It has to be for the other team. So it's a little bit friendlier that way. The second round is less friendly, so this is for Quick Draw, which is an AI where it recognizes sketches. So it gives each player 6 different things to sketch, and they have 20 seconds to draw each of them. Usually it can recognize everything you draw. Once in a while, it just doesn't. So out of the 6 drawings, you're probably going to get either 5 or 6. I've gotten 4 a few times. But everyone will get a turn at that, and then just add up your score, and that's your score for the second round. And then the third round is Bot Poet. So this is actually a collection of about half a dozen bots that write poetry. So people fed them databases of poetry written by humans, and then it will randomly give a poem written by either a bot or a human. So I have these 2 big tiles. One says bot, one says not, and then each team has 5 tokens, and they can wager on whether or not they think the poem was written by a bot. And depending on how sure they are, they can put more or fewer tokens. So you can put 2 on one and 3 on the other, or you can put all 5 of them on one. And then we do a series of about 7 of those. So you can really rack up the points if you're right several times in a row. And then after they have put in their bids, I reveal whether it was a bot or not. And if it was a human, it actually says who wrote it. And sometimes it's really surprising. Like, you think you're really sure that it was one when it was the other. And it's very enlightening and pretty cool what some bots can do. They can write very convincing poetry. And then some poetry written by humans is just totally messed up. Another cool thing about this, it's a website. This website, what it does is it tells you the spread of how many people chose what. So sometimes it's really close to 50-50, and sometimes it's really skewed in one direction or the other. And one thing I really like about this game is that I don't have to do any preparation. I just built out the framework. Everything is done live. So that makes less pressure on me because I don't have to prepare a bunch of questions like for trivia each time. And it's also more exciting because I don't even know what the bots are going to say. They don't know until I ask it to generate a poem or a series of quotes or whatever. So that's something that I've got in the works. And once we can do group events again, then I'll go into some heavier playtesting. Right now, it's really hard to do playtesting. I tried virtually. Yeah, it was a big pain. So, and that's what that is now. And I can always be adding new AI-themed segments to it, swapping them out, and that kind of thing. But the game itself is intended to be very simple. It's just based on party games that are out there. And that's okay, because the real innovation is that it's all interactions with AI. Yeah, so that's the product that I'm planning to get out to especially tech companies, in particular ones that are involved with AI, because I think they'd be really interested in that. It would also work in bars and pubs as an alternative to traditional trivia night. Okay, that wraps it up for this episode. Next time, I'm going to be talking about my t-shirt side of Meeple Leaf. So I also design t-shirts, and that's intended to be kind of an ongoing product that I can sell at events or even online. That's coming up in the next episode of Board Game Entrepreneur. Thanks so much for listening, and happy gaming!